and welcome to the Winstel number reveal show for the upcoming 2004 Winstel Cup Series season. Today, we will be previewing the 2004 season, covering news stories and changes to the series as it now enters its third full season. And most importantly, today we will find out what teams and drivers will be paired together when the series debuts at Daytona. Joining me today will be fellow Winstel admin Alex Bates to help break everything down. Hi, Alex, and thanks for joining me.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Before we get into the really exciting stuff, let's break down a few of the rule changes that have been implemented for Winstel in the upcoming season.
For sure. One of the biggest changes on the officiating side will be the debut of the new incident tracking system. The admin team as a whole is always looking at what can be done to make sure the races are competitive, but we also spend a lot of time making sure that we are holding drivers accountable for their on-track actions. A wreck caused by one driver affects every driver on the track, and with these shorter races we run in Winstel, caution lights really add up quickly. For more details on these changes, look for a release from us later on in the preseason.
Mindful of how they drive to make sure they don't incur excessive penalties this year, but hopefully we will see more green flag racing as a result. With that said, the incident system isn't the only change we will see this year.
Yep, moving into the 2004 season, we are going to be picking up the rules that they used in that year, and that introduces the chase to us, as well as the additional 5 bonus points for winning a race. So, two major factors that could change how this season plays out.
Yeah, definitely it's going to change up the strategy and how people view gathering points and that most important top 10 cutoff to make that chase so that you can compete for that championship. Okay, enough with the filler. Tonight's main event. It's time to find out what cars and teams our Winstel drivers will be fielding for the 2004 season. There's no better place to start than with the defending champion Tyler Head. Always known as a solid driver, it wouldn't be a stretch to say that few had Tyler at the top of their list as a championship favorite going into the 2003 season. But Tyler was on a mission to prove everyone that he wouldn't easily be ignored. Coming out of the gate strong, Tyler scored 2 wins in the first 6 races at Rockingham in Texas. Of the 14th race of the season at New Hampshire, Tyler would take the point lead and not look back, wrapping up the championship a week early at Phoenix. Tyler's final numbers: 5 wins, tied for the most in the series, 5s, 18 top 10s, and an average finish of 7.09. Despite all of this, the number 86 Team Papyrus Chevrolet ended its run at the peak, with the team shutting down at the conclusion of the 2003 season. Tyler has now found a new home, driving a car he is familiar with, the number 4 Chevrolet, for Morgan McClure Motorsports. After a career season, expect Tyler Head to be up front as he looks to go back-to-back in 2004.
While Tyler had snagged the championship, other teams were looking to make a change. Parker and DEI have chosen to part ways, with Alexander making the move to Hendrick Motorsports and the number 5 Kellogg Chevrolet for the 2004 season. Parker's best performances have come at short tracks, and it wouldn't be surprising for him to pull off a victory at one of those in the '04 season.
With Ali Osmond departing Hendrick Motorsports to make room for Alexander, what about the rest of the Hendrick stable? Well, it comes to as little surprise that Hendrick has chosen to retain the driver of the number 24 DuPont Chevrolet, Nicholas Doucette, for another season. Although Doucette's season seemed to be a regression from 2006, where the driver scored 2 wins, the reality is that Nick still had a solid season in 2003, scoring 7 top 5 finishes, 16 top 10s, and a 4th place in the final point standings. A championship threat for 2 years running, we fully expect to see that number 24 car up front contending for victories and a spot in the chase for the Winstel Cup.
Hendrick Motorsports has also retained the driver of the 48 Lowe Chevrolet, Sean Peleg. Sean showed a marked improvement over his '06 season. First, Sean snapped a long winless streak, breaking through for his first career Winstel Gen 4 victory at Darlington this year. A few weeks later, he scored his first pole in Winston competition at Dover. At the end of the season, Sean had notched 1 win, 6 top 5s, and 12 top 10 finishes, rounding out his season in 7th in overall points. While Sean has shown the speed, the biggest thing he needs to focus on in the '04 season is how to minimize the bad days and keep his car in one piece. If he can do that, then don't be surprised to see the 48 in the chase this season.
Hendrick Motorsports has shown a lot of depth in the roster, but still has some gaps to fill. Rookie of the Year Evan Locke will not be returning to the number 25 car in 2004, but that's good news for our co-host, Alex Bates. Alex, what do you think about your move this season?
Based on the two announcements we got here for the other Hendrick cars, I'm more than excited to be in the 25 and racing with those guys this upcoming season. Just looking for more, always better. Want to run better than last year, want to run better than the year before, and should be able to achieve that.
Well, if you can stay off of everybody's front bumpers, I think you're going to have a lot better season this year. Moving on from Hendrick, the next driver.
All right, hold on there. As a member of the Hendrick team, I feel the need to inform you that we got a fifth car this year. We got Timothy Latham hopping in the 84, leaving the Penske 12 from last season, and got that CarQuest Chevrolet ready to go.
Wow, and that's a big development. Looks like after 2003, both parties were looking for a change. So it'll be interesting to see what Latham could do with some Hendrick horsepower under the hood.
During 03, Timothy performed best at some of the bigger, slick tracks, Texas, Auto Club, Pocono. Those will be the tracks I'd keep an eye out for the 84 next season.
It'll definitely be an adjustment seeing him in a different car this season after he spent the last 2 years driving that number 12 car. But we wish him the best of luck with his new ride.
Well, we've talked about a lot of Chevrolet teams so far, so it's time to talk about the other side of town. What's going on in the Blue Oval camp?
Well, an interesting development for Ford is that while they were already down on the low end in the amount of teams and cars they were fielding in 2003, with the shutting down of Travis Cover's number 54, smaller teams going to Dodge or Chevrolet, the Ford car count has, with just 2 major players carrying the banner, Roush Racing and Robert Yates Racing.
First, Roush Racing has extended their contract with my co-host, and we'll see Christian Budd back behind the wheel of the 17 DeWalt Ford Taurus. The 17 and 03 had a solid season with 7 top 5s, 17 top 10s, all punctuated by a win at Charlotte.
Thanks, yeah. Winning Charlotte was definitely the highlight of the season for me. The rest of the season was pretty good, but just couldn't quite capitalize on some of the opportunities for wins in the late stages of some races. Couldn't quite minimize the bad days enough to compete with Tyler for the championship. Overall, a good year, and looking forward to driving that number 17 car again in 2004.
While we weren't surprised to see you back behind the wheel of the 17, what about the rest of Roush Racing? The team had a lot of turmoil last year, struggling to keep all of their cars on track.
Yeah, that is definitely true. One thing we do know is that the number 99 team has confirmed its new driver for 2004. Craig Lautenschlager has moved on from the Ultra Motorsports number 7 Dodge. Craig ran a limited schedule last year, running just 8 races with an average finish of 22.5. He'll be looking to qualify for the Rookie of the Year this season, so it'll be interesting to see how he stacks up against the other rookies in 2004. One thing he will have to contend with running so few races, he will not be locked into the top 35 when the season begins, so he'll have to qualify his way in on speed.
Rounding out the Roush stable this season will be the driver of the number 16 National Guard Ford. Kyle Benson stays with the Ford family, moving over from the Robert Yates Racing number 38 to drive for Roush this season. Kyle has shown flashes of speed in Winstel, scoring 2 top 10 finishes and 16 starts last season. This is another driver whose best finishes came at the superspeedways. He could also be a dark horse pick at some of the more unique tracks on the schedule like Dover, Darlington, or Pocono.
We've documented Ford's driver struggles. One car that remains empty at Roush is the number 97 car. Philip Snipes and Roush have parted ways, with Snipes going to drive Dodges for Evernham Motorsports. Phil is a longtime Winstel veteran, and he's hoping that a change will lead to a better season. Statistically, Phil's best tracks have been 1 mile and under, so keep an eye out for him at places like Bristol, Phoenix, and New Hampshire.
Evernham is looking for some stability in the number 19 car after struggling to put that car on track each week in 03. I think they found that with Phil Snipes. In addition, they've also retained Winstel owner and operator Brennan McGee as he will drive for his 3rd consecutive season in the number 9 Dodge dealer's Dodge. Brennan's 2003 was an improved season from the previous one, with McGee finishing 10th in points after scoring 4 top 5s, 6 top 10s, and in what was clearly the highlight of his year, McGee broke a long winless streak by bringing his Dodge home first at Talladega. McGee is always a factor at the plate tracks, and he'd love to start the season by winning the prestigious Daytona 500 this March.
Brennan has done a great job leading Winstel, and that would definitely be a popular win in the Winstel garage. Moving on from the Dodge camp, we return back to the Bowtie Brigade. At Joe Gibbs Racing, what is old is new again. Zach Campbell has vacated the number 20 Home Depot Chevrolet after a strong season in 2003. This has opened the door for a return. Brandon Cruz Monsivice piloted the number 20 car in the 2006 season previously, but as the number 54 team shuttered its doors at the end of 2003, Cruz found himself once again hunting for a ride. With the number 20 available, Cruz is hoping to improve on his 2003 results. And statistically, his best tracks are the flat tracks like Richmond, New Hampshire, and throw Atlanta in as his best chance for a good finish.
Cruz has been a big sponsor of Winstel, and we wish him the best of luck in 04. Along with the driver change for the number 20 car, the number 18 will see some changes as well. For the past 2 seasons, Anthony Krobach was a familiar face behind the wheel of the Interstates Battery Chevrolet. But the number 18 team has parted ways with Krobach to team up with sophomore driver Chris Champeau. Chris leaves the Penske Racing number 2 Dodge after a solid season for the rookie driver. He scored 1 top 10 finish with a 9th at Kansas. Chris had a multitude of top 15s with his best performances coming at intermediates and 2-mile speedways. After finishing 18th in points, he'll be looking to become a consistent top 10 driver. If he can stay out of trouble, a spot in the chase isn't out of the question for Champeau.
Well, with Chris in the number 18, where does that leave Anthony Krobach? As it turns out, Joe Gibbs didn't want to lose him as a driver, but just felt like they needed a bit of a shakeup. This means that Krobach will now drive for the newly formed number 11 Chevrolet, with the primary sponsorship still a bit hazy, but it looks like Old Spice may get the nod here.
You know, I can understand Gibbs wanting to keep Krobach in the fold. Last year was a bit of a struggle for Anthony, who unfortunately couldn't attend a lot of the races, but he has shown flashes of speed, including surprising everyone by winning the pole at Charlotte for the 600. He really seems at home on the slick 1.5 mile tracks, and we see a lot of those on our schedule.
Well, with the Joe Gibbs lineup set, let's stay with Chevrolet for a little bit longer and talk about DEI. Dylan Roberts will return to the number 8 car. Dylan has become a proven winner in Winstel, scoring 2 victories in 2003, Pocono and Richmond, on top of 11 top 5 and 16 top 10 finishes, and a final points position of 6. Dylan has also been competitive at every type of track, and if it wasn't for Zach Campbell, would likely have multiple road course wins as well. Definitely put Roberts as a championship contender in 2004.
For sure, don't count out Roberts. Let's take a look at his DEI teammate, whose option was also picked up for 04. Emily Howe, the driver of the number 15 Napa Chevrolet. Howe joined the club of drivers who broke out of a winless streak in 03 by winning the Pepsi 400 at Daytona. We are all in agreement that Howe is one of the preeminent super speedway racers in Winstel, but we also saw strong runs at other tracks like Richmond, Watkins Glen, and the 2-mile ovals, Michigan and Auto Club. Also remember, Howe endured one of the most difficult starts to his season in recent memory, but rebounded with 1 win, 4 top 5s, 14 top 10s, and an 8th place position in the final standings.
Got one more DEI car to talk about, the number 1 Chevrolet. With Parker Alexander departing the team, DEI has signed Jonathan Hernandez to drive the Snap-on Chevrolet in 2004. Hernandez's rookie season had him driving the number 83 for Fitz Bradshaw Racing. They had a technical alliance with DEI, and with that team going back to focus on the Busch Series, it was a natural fit for Hernandez to stay in the Chevrolet fold.
Jonathan is an accomplished restrictor plate racer, so DEI is a natural fit for him. We also saw some good runs out of him on the 1 mile and shorter ovals. With 1 top 10 and 7 top 15 finishes, if Jonathan can keep his nose clean, he's got a chance to make the chase this season.
Well, earlier we were talking about breakout seasons, and this time it is in the Dodge camp at Chip Ganassi Racing. Gabriel Mauricio will once again pilot the number 40 Coors Light Dodge. Gabriel scored his first Gen 4 era win in 2003 with a dominating performance at Phoenix, where he started from the 2nd position before quickly taking the lead. Gabriel was also a consistent contender with 9 top 5s and 15 top 10s to his credit.
Gabe definitely has shown the ability to contend at every type of track, from road courses to super speedways, so no surprise to see him finally pull off that victory. The other thing that Gabe has going for him this season is that he tends to be really strong towards the end of the season, and with the chase format back for 04, it'll play right into his hands.
Absolutely, although his biggest competition may just be from his brand new teammate for 2004. Road course ace and all around contender Zach Campbell comes back into the Dodge fold and joins Chip Ganassi Racing, this time driving the number 41 Target Dodge.
There's no doubt that Zach Campbell is an all-around racer. Road courses, he's practically unstoppable, but he's also tied for the most wins last season with 5 in just 16 starts, even maintaining a 9th place final points position despite missing races. There just isn't a race where you don't consider Zach Campbell as a potential winner.
Agreed. Rounding out the Ganassi camp for 2004, 2003 Rookie of the Year Evan Locke has also made the move from Hendrick Motorsports' number 25 car to take over the seat vacated by former eNASCAR Coke Series driver Brennan McKissick, the iconic number 42 Haviland Dodge. Locke had a solid season by all accounts, scoring 5 top 10 finishes in 23 starts. Now coming into his sophomore season, he'll be looking to continue his improvement. If Evan can avoid the bad finishes, he has a shot at making the chase this season.
That's the hardest thing in racing, avoiding those costly mistakes and losing valuable points. With just 16 races to determine who makes the cut, you really need to maximize your points every week in the quality of this field. Let's talk about a driver who's been a championship contender in both the last 2 seasons and will reprise his role in the number 29 GM Goodwrench Chevrolet, Jose Salas Jr. Jose scored 4 wins in 2003, tied with Zach Campbell for the most pole positions with 7, and led more laps than anyone with 362 on the season. We fully expect Jose to compete for a championship again in the 04 season.
Without a doubt, Jose is one of the most consistent and fast drivers in Winstel. He got caught out a lot on strategy last year, which probably won him some races, but also probably cost him some points as well. But it's always entertaining to see a guy who isn't afraid to make those calls and often forces everyone else's hand when he does.
Jose will have a new teammate in the 30 car this year. Former driver of the Hendrick Motorsports number 5, Ali Osman has joined RCR to drive the AOL car for the 04 season. Ali had a strong season in 03, finishing in the top 5 twice and scoring 6 top 10 finishes, along with a 13th place in the final point standing.
Yeah, Ali has proven he has speed and can contend, so for him it's all about staying out of the wrecks and maximizing his day. He qualified for the chase in 2006, and if he keeps stacking points, he will be a contender in 2004 again. Joining the other 2 at RCR will once again be corporate teammate Ken Huff behind the wheel of the number 31 Singular Wireless Chevrolet. Ken has been a Winstel stalwart for a long time and dazzled everyone with his painting skills while driving the number 31 car last season. Despite missing some races due to personal reasons, Ken managed to hang on to that critical top 35 position to keep himself locked in for the first 4 races of the 2004 season.
Yeah, we don't talk about it a whole lot, but that top 35 is worth so much at the start of the season, where we are more likely to see those higher car counts and unfortunately often have to send some people home if they can't qualify for the race on speed. Let's talk about the final driver in the RCR stable, Tyler Murray. Last year the rookie drove the number 30 car to a 28th place finish, gaining valuable experience in the high horsepower Gen 4 cars. This year the team has moved him to the number 33 Bath Pro Shop Chevrolet, where he hopes to improve on his average finish and compete for the top 20 overall in points.
Which really isn't that easy to do. Last year the top 20 was a highly contested position, coming down to the final race to determine who would come out on top. We tend to focus a lot on the chase and the championship, but it's easy to forget that a lot of battles go on down the standings between a lot of drivers.
Stepping away from the big teams for a moment, let's talk about some of the drivers who will be driving for the smaller teams this season. First we have TJ Crampton, who left the Gene Haas-led number 0 Chevrolet to be the driver of the number 50 Dodge for Arnold Motorsports. TJ has 1 top 5 and 3 top 10 finishes in his Winstel career, and his best finishes have come at Daytona and Talladega. Only once has he failed to finish inside the top 10. TJ is a definite dark horse pick for scoring a win at the plate track, and a top 20 finish in points would be good growth for a driver who enters his second full-time season this year.
Yep, and keeping up with those independent teams, let's talk about another independent team. This time driving the number 00 car for Michael Waltrip Racing, it's the former driver of the number 4 machine, Christina Ryan. With the number 4 car now being driven by Tyler Head, a move to the 00 car really makes a lot of sense. Let's take a look at her stats in 2003. In 18 starts, Ryan scored 1 top 5 and 4 top 10 finishes.
And delving into those numbers a little deeper, what we can really see is that Christina excelled at the super speedways, scoring a 5th, 6th, and 7th place finish at Daytona and Talladega last season. This may well be the season where Christina breaks through to victory lane.
And we definitely wouldn't be surprised to see that.
While I tend to think of MB2 and MBV as smaller teams, this year they will be fielding 3 cars between them. Starting with MBV, as we covered earlier, I will no longer be driving the number 10 Valvoline machine. That has opened the door for eNASCAR pro Ryan Doucette to make the switch from the Ford camp to the General Motors stable. Also important to note that this team was one of the last to field Pontiacs and will now all be Chevrolet in 04. Ryan didn't disappoint in 03, where despite only making 16 starts, he managed to score the victory at Michigan in addition to 6 top 5 and 9 top 10 finishes. As expected from a driver of his caliber, Ryan is a threat to win at every style of track, although he feels most at home on the short tracks.
On the MB2 side of things, the number 01 U.S. Army Chevrolet has tabbed James Bowles as their driver for the 2004 season. James ran 9 races for Roush Racing's number 99 entry in 2003, scoring a best finish of 20th at Pocono. Now planning to run the full schedule, James is one of those drivers who will have to qualify in on speed for the first 4 races of the season, as he was just 45th in overall points at season's end.
Joining James at MB2 is Olivia Hayward. Hayward previously drove the second entry for Morgan McClure Motorsports, the number 04 Pontiac in the 03 season. Despite missing some races at the end of the season, Olivia scored enough points to lock herself into the show via the top 35 for 04. A top 10 at Charlotte and 2 top 15 finishes at Dover and New Hampshire show her ability to put up numbers good enough that she should be able to stay in the top 35 throughout this season.
Well, let's go ahead and round out the remaining Dodges in our number reveal show. With the departure of Chris Champeau from the number 2 and Timothy Latham from the number 12 car, the new face of Penske Racing to be the former driver of the number 32 Pontiac, Alex Kolonix. Alex excelled on the flat tracks last season, scoring top 5 finishes at Phoenix, New Hampshire, and Martinsville. He also notched 4 top 10 finishes at other tracks and went on to finish 16th in driver points. Kolonix does have a Winstel win to his credit, coming in Dover at 2006, and he will be looking to return to those winning ways in 2004.
The number 89 car has been a staple in Winstel for the past 2 seasons, driven by the careful and steady Hayden Rapa. When he does make the races, it'll be behind the wheel of the John Deere-colored Racing for Jesus Dodge. Hayden has been an excellent admin for Winstel, and we look forward to seeing him on track in the future.
Bringing up our final Dodge entry of the night is a familiar face in a familiar car. Jeffrey McClintock will return to pilot the number 45 Georgia Pacific Dodge for 2004. Making just 13 starts in 2003 left Jeff the last one out at the close of the season, missing the top 35 cut by just 24 points to Ken Huff. Jeff will have to qualify his Dodge in on speed for the first 4 races to make the show each week. If he can power through and accumulate points, Jeff has shown the ability to run inside the top 15 and top 20 consistently, which should be enough for him to break into the top 35 by the 5th race of the season.
We documented the relatively few Ford entries registered so far, but there are still 2 notable entries to cover. First, Thomas Lewandowski will once again drive for the Wood Brothers in the famed number 21 Motorcraft Taurus. Lewandowski made just 17 starts in 03, but scored a respectable 3 top 5 finishes and 5 top 10s. Lewandowski's first win in Winstel Gen 4 competition came at Homestead in 06, where he played the fuel mileage game to perfection. He nearly did it again at Kansas in 03, coming up just short to Tyler Head, who was on the same strategy. Still, if I had to give him the nod, I'd put Dover as the most likely place to see him add another to the win column.
Another driver who ran a reduced schedule last year and famously likes to drive underfunded teams up to the front of the field Larry Pace will this year complete the manufacturer trifecta after competing for Dodge in 2006, Chevrolet in 2003, and now will run the number 98 Lucas Oil Ford for 2004. With just 20 starts between the last two seasons, Larry still has an impressive resume of 1 pole, 4 top 5, and 9 top 10 finishes to his credit. Like several other drivers on reduced schedules, he is not locked in via the top 35 and will have to qualify his way into the big show. But while Larry may not show up every week, when he does, he comes to race.
Our last driver announcement tonight comes from owner Andy Belmont and will be the sole Pontiac in the field. Aaron Smith will wield the number 59 Dave the Spain for President Grand Prix for the 04 season. Aaron ran just 6 races in 03, scoring a best finish of 9th at Pocono, and also ran 9 races in 06, including a top 10 run at Watkins Glen. By virtue of his limited starts, Aaron will need to qualify for the first 4 races of the season.
Well, that covers all the spots that have been filled for preseason registration. But let's take a quick moment to see what notable rides are still open. Wrapping up our final thoughts for the show, the whole Winstel admin team is excited for another year of competitive and fun racing. As always, the amount of work put into Winstel to make it the best sim racing league on the planet, from shows like this to small minutiae of scheduling and race lengths, nothing gets the short end of the stick. Also, we are really excited about our new broadcast partner in ABN. The amount of enthusiasm they have shown for being a part of Winstel is really encouraging, and we are looking forward to seeing what they can do with the broadcasts. I'd like to take the time to give a big thanks to all those who have donated to the league and helped keep it running. The league simply doesn't exist without the support of its members, and a heartfelt thank you from the entire admin team. A few other callouts. First, to Tyler Head and Alex Bates for all the work they've done for Winstel Illustrated, all of which have looked fantastic and are a great way to remember the 2003 season. Second, to Emily Howe and all the setup work that she puts in, which has been a staple of Winstel competition and helps set us apart from the average league running iRacing Fix setups. And finally, to all of our drivers who show up each and every week and make chasing wins and championships something memorable. For my co-host Alex Bates, I'm Christian Budd, and we look forward to seeing all of you in sunny Florida for the 2004 Daytona 500 on March 3rd. Thanks for watching.